This is scary. I think this episode starting in 2020 is never going to end unless enough of us wake up and say, to hell with it. We're not going to comply with this nonsense anymore. And I think what's happening here is, if we continue, we're going to end up, all of us, carrying digital ID. Now, you might think digital ID is no big deal. Don't you have digital passports? But no, there's something coming, and it's definitely coming, that's different. So first, your passport, there's 190 different formats in the world. There isn't one format. What is coming now globally is a single format digital ID. Second, it will be what's called interoperable. When your ID pings the system, not only can it make a decision as to whether to allow you to enter a door or buy a product, but it can make a mark on that digital ID and edit it. That's not true of any ID at the moment. That's called interoperability, global format. And here's the worst part. It contains all of you. Your health data, your unique ID data, your financial data, your driving history, where you live, what you've bought. Basically, it's a QR code that takes you to a website called Mike Yeadon's Life. And that is what is coming down the pipe for us. If you don't believe me, then I'm just going to paint a picture as to why it's the last important decision free humans are ever going to make. And I'm going to refuse it, even though it may exclude me from banking, for example. I don't need digital ID. You don't need digital ID. Evidence for that? My last 63 years of my life. Now, let me give you a scenario. You walk up to the shop door and you're required to beep your digital ID. So because we're moving into what has been described as the zero trust world. These are not my words. These are their words. Zero trust world. So you need to prove who you are at every moment. You wave your ID. If they've decided, so because I've said bad things on social media, they're not going to admit me to food stores, the door will not open. Something that will frighten you. Because this has happened in Britain. Lockdown. Climate lockdowns are being mooted. It's absurd, but they are. If they say to you, you may not move more than 5 miles from your registered address, and you are 6 miles from home and go into a store and you attempt to buy a bottle of water or a sandwich, your central bank digital currency and digital ID will prevent that transaction occurring. That's what is coming for us. So when they say, oh, you need a digital ID so you can prove who you are, tell them to, insert it somewhere else. You do not need digital ID. They need you to have it, because that's the control mechanism. There are only two parts to it. Digital ID, interoperable, one format in the globe, and cashless CBDC. That's it. And then finally, I believe this is what's going to happen. I wish it didn't, and I pray to God I'm wrong. Those two things, any government that tries to take cash away from you and forces you to identify yourself digitally is a criminal government. I would advise you to do what Jefferson Davis said. You have the right to amend or abolish a government that endures the purposes for which it was established to serve.
De Unie staat op het punt om de zogenaamde digitale identiteit te lanceren. U weet wel, die app die de Tweede Kamer niet wilde, maar waar mevrouw Van Huffelen in Brussel toch mee instemde. De app die al uw persoonlijke data aan elkaar koppelt omdat het zo handig zou zijn, maar die grote privacy- en datalek-risico's met zich meedraagt. Die app dreigde hier in het Europees Parlement zonder instemming in de plenaire vergadering te worden goedgekeurd. Maar daar heb ik een stokje voor gestoken. Eerst heb ik mijn collega's in de ICR-fractie overtuigd om ons hiertegen te verenigen. Daarna heb ik ook buiten mijn eigen fractie handtekeningen opgehaald om een zogenaamd voorstel voor verwerping in te dienen. Dat gaat nu gebeuren en dat is winst. Nu moeten alle fracties in het Europees Parlement kleur bekennen. Accepteren we de digitale identiteit zoals hij nu is, zonder er ook maar een plenair debat over te voeren? Of willen we gewoon een debat zoals hier in het parlement over allerlei onderwerpen wordt gevoerd? Mijn inzet blijft geen digitale identiteit. Ik heb nog steeds geen idee voor welk probleem de digitale identiteit een oplossing zou zijn. Maar ik zie heel duidelijk welke problemen dit kan veroorzaken. Ik zal de leden van het Europees Parlement daarom oproepen: denk goed na over de nadelen en stem hier niet mee in.
what would be in effect is the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution, which are meant, now that you have these people in place, you need to control them. So they propose to use digital identities, central bank digital currencies, the Internet of Bodies, invasive technologies, even ingestible and insertable technologies into the body that would not only control and monitor everything about a person, but would also possibly even control their thoughts if they have, if these brain cloud interfaces were effectively implemented. So it would be a nightmare. Well, I have in my upcoming book, The Great Reset and the Struggle for Liberty, a 9-point plan for countering the Great Reset. And I mean, these are very practical. It's not like this is all we can do, but these are definite practical steps. First of all, you must refuse to use central bank digital currency. And then you must reject the technologies that they have in mind for our use, for our control. The Internet of Bodies, the installation of devices in your body, the metaverse and transhuman technologies, which are really about turning you into a remote control subject. Refusing this digital identity, which they're going to be trying to issue soon, which is a way of tracking you from cradle to grave.
Digitale Technologien die Freiheit. Hier einige der neuesten Beispiele.
In der Hälfte der Länder der Welt haben sich Impfpässe bereits in digitale Ausweise verwandelt. Am 27. Juni 2023 erschien folgende Pressemitteilung des Rates der EU. Der Rat habe eine Empfehlung angenommen, um einen reibungslosen Übergang vom Covid-19-Zertifizierungssystem zu einem globalen Netz der WHO für die digitale Gesundheitszertifizierung sicherzustellen. Den Mitgliedstaaten wird empfohlen, sich an das von der WHO eingerichtete globale Netz für digitale Gesundheitszertifizierung anzubinden. In der Nacht auf den 29. Juni 2023 haben sich in Brüssel EU-Staaten und Europaparlament auf die digitale Identität für alle EU-Bürger geeinigt. Die Bürger wurden nicht gefragt. Der Reisepass der EU-Bürger soll in den nächsten Jahren in einer App am Smartphone gespeichert sein. In dieser ID-App, auch ID-Wallet genannt, zu Deutsch ID-Brieftasche, sollen die jeweiligen biometrischen Daten zur Identifizierung erfasst sein.
Der österreichische Publizist im Bereich Science and Technology Dr. Peter F. Meyer spricht von der Errichtung eines digitalen Gefängnisses durch EU, WHO, UNO und WEF. Die Eckpunkte seien die digitale Identität verknüpft mit Gesundheitspass und Bankkonto, die zentrale digitale Weltwährung, die Übertragung aller bisher vom Volk ausgehende Macht auf eine WHO, UNO, WEF Weltregierung durch den Pandemievertrag und die Änderung der internationalen Gesundheitsvorschriften. Als Katalysator für die Errichtung eines digitalen Überwachungsgefängnisses diente die Covid-Krise. Genannte und andere Indizien deuten auf einen raffinierten und ausgeklügelten Plan hin. Unter dem Deckmantel der Covid-Krise und dem Vorwand von der Sicherheit gewöhnen sich viele Bürger schleichend und unbewusst an die digitalen Überwachungstechnologien, bis der Freiheitsraub komplett vollzogen ist. Dr. Peter F. Meyer schreibt, noch ist es Zeit, gegen diese digitale faschistische Agenda aufzustehen und nichts davon zu akzeptieren. Gebt eure Daten nicht her und verwendet Bargeld, wenn immer es Menschen möglich ist. Und werdet aktiv, nutzt alle noch vorhandenen Möglichkeiten, die uns Demokratie und Grundrechte bieten.
Australian cities are becoming digital surveillance precincts, with so-called smart city programs being rolled out across the country. Invasive technology such as facial recognition cameras, licence plate readers, smart lights, smart poles, smart cars, smart neighbourhoods, smart homes and smart appliances, all connected to wireless networks and communicating with each other. So what's wrong with that? Technology is good, isn't it? All this is for your safety, security and convenience, isn't it? Well, let me tell you. Your streets are spying on you, your mobile phone is spying on you, your cities are spying on you, and the infrastructure for future lockdowns is being put into place right now. Don't be fooled. You're being set up to be tracked through your movements and through the future of your digital wallets. By handing over your data, you're handing over the ability to monitor your behaviour, which will soon be turned into a social credit score. And once the central bank digital currencies are in place, you won't get to spend your money without approval. Digital ID will soon become a reality in Australia. Many other countries are already rolling these systems out, countries like Canada, Scotland and many others. Eventually, you won't be able to access any government or public services, and you won't be able to travel across borders or access healthcare or the internet without a digital ID. Think you won't comply? I think you will. The last 2 years were the dress rehearsal and we fell for it hook, line and sinker. Australians are sleepwalking into this technocratic future. And while we're sitting around scratching our chins trying to work out whether this is really happening, Australia is drifting towards a dystopian digital future.
These people are aware of the fact that our constitutional rights are being set aside without an end date, and that we're heading towards a new system, a tyrannical regime of mass surveillance and control. And this is not just a hunch. This is all part of a bigger plan. This is something people who are watching right now can actually go and look up. What's very important for the American audience to know is that we've had this digital COVID pass in place in Europe, which is basically like a QR code on your phone that grants you access to everyday life, like to bars, restaurants, etc. It's completely bind to your vax status. And this is all part of a European project issued by the European Commission that is basically surrounded around this idea of a European digital identity. So this will not stay just linked to your vaccination status. This will encompass taxes. This will encompass your medical records apart from your vaccination status, your bank information. So basically, we already have a system in place right now that is very close, or at least reminds us of the beginning phases of a social credit system. We are literally turning into China.
If this were linked to digital currency and presumably paper currencies on the way out, then the average person would be utterly controlled by the government. And the government could just turn off your ability to buy anything, your ability to go anywhere. I mean, at that point, you really are a slave to a supposedly democratic government, are you not?
That's exactly right. That's exactly what they're planning to do. And this agenda is supposed to be laid out by 2030. So that's what we're heading towards. So you see all these people going out in the streets. It's because they know that this is what's going on.
Αλλά ξέρετε, τα ανοιχτά δεδομένα είναι πλούτος. Σε ένα συνέδριο που είχα την ευκαιρία να πάω παλιότερα, υπήρχε ένα πάνελ που έλεγε τα δεδομένα είναι το νέο πετρέλαιο.
Εάν αυτός που με κυβερνά έχει στα χέρια του αυτόν τον πλούτο των δεδομένων και τους αλγόριθμους που του επιτρέπει να πολύ γρήγορα να τα επεξεργάζεται και πολύ γρήγορα να βρίσκει να καταλήγει τις σωστές αποφάσεις, μέσα τα οποία εγώ ο πολίτης δεν έχω, τότε πώς εγώ ελέγχω εκείνους που με κυβερνούν?
Όλη αυτή η συζήτηση που αφορά στην τεχνητή νοημοσύνη έχει να κάνει ουσιαστικά με αυτό. Με το να μπορείς να λαμβάνεις αποφάσεις και ο αλγόριθμος να λαμβάνει αποφάσεις πάρα πολύ γρήγορα. Είναι δεδομένο πως εγείρονται ερωτήματα σε σχέση με την ιδιωτικότητα, σε σχέση με τη βούληση του πολίτη, σε σχέση με το τι ξέρει το κράτος για μένα και το τι θέλω να ξέρει το κράτος για μένα. Αλλά στην Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση έχουμε την τύχη να έχουμε πολύ συγκεκριμένο θεσμικό πλαίσιο που διέπει τη χρήση αυτών των δεδομένων. Το GDPR για αρχή.
The first proposal is a new regulation for the European high-performance computing joint undertaking. And the second proposal is a recommendation for member states to boost investment in connectivity infrastructure. High-performance or supercomputers, they are really important for our future. They support the health sector, by, for instance, creating what you could call a digital human twin. Like this, we can stimulate trillions of processes and molecules of the human body to advance treatments, tackle diseases or viruses, and improve diagnostics. We can use supercomputers to investigate options and designs of efficient Earth system. Supercomputers, they can support businesses to innovate, to test and to scale up much beyond what we have today. In October 2018, we put together with member states and private contributors 1.5 billion euros to the first joint undertaking on high-performance computing. Now we want to scale up and to continue this ambition in the next multi-annual financial framework, with a further total of 8 billion euros to be invested in this digital capacity. Connectivity, obvious, is the backbone for digital solutions. We want to speed up the investment in high-speed internet for businesses, public services, and for citizens as such. It is needed to accelerate our efforts when it comes to 5G deployment. So we call on member states to develop a toolbox with best practices as to how to invest in connectivity. These are just two tangible examples as to how we can advance our digital agenda.